The way we look at the world changes the way we see things. I think that a lot of the time I find myself kind of, nowadays more than others, but just seeing things for what they are. Being more objective and seeing things for what they truly are, good or bad. I've realized that we only think something is negative because we see it as negative. And we only see something as positive because we see it as positive. And that's why I think the way we see the world is who we are and what we are. And the way you go about that is gonna mean everything for you. I mean, if you think the world is so bad, do you really think you're ever gonna be happy? You know? And that's where I think that extracting meaning in the most horrible events can be so beautiful. You know? I think we all know that life isn't gonna be sunshine and rainbows, and there's bad things everywhere. In our day-to-day life, there's so many horrible things, but the way we choose to see those things, and if we can try to find beauty in some of those things, can make it really peaceful. And as we navigate that, it's not something that I can just say, go look at it. It really has to come from within. I think that as human beings, we all need to take a second to look inwards and, have that conversation with ourselves. The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And that conversation you have with yourself, it can change, right? But a lot of it is, there is no fake until you make it when it comes to your self-talk. You can't just brush off your problems because tomorrow they're still going to be there. It takes truly looking inward, examining yourself, examining what you want, thinking about your purpose and your why. Knowing that, you're not always going to have things figured out. You're not always going to have things figured out. And there's so much beauty in that. That every day as we continue to expand our knowledge, as we continue to expand our perspective, we kind of realize that what we have is now, right? There is no future self to achieve. There is no past self to overcome. What we have is who we are now. And who we are now is always changing. Just like who we were can't change, A lot of the times we get so caught up in trying to change who we were. But that's you, and everything that happened to that past self has made you who you are. I talked about this in the last video, but it doesn't matter what hand you were dealt, what disabilities you have, what issues you have. There's always something you can do, and that's action in your own life. Taking action in your own life and making sure that you're doing things that make you happy. And that's where this relates to that internal conversation. I think one challenge we have is just that we can't spend time alone in our head. A challenge we have is that when we're faced to be alone, a lot of us try to ignore it. But I think that's where you find yourself. Become aware of yourself. Because only when you start talking to yourself is when you start understanding how you feel about things. Something might make you happy, and it doesn't have to make anyone else happy but you. We're all wired differently. We're all different in so many different ways, And I think that's the beauty of, relationships and friendships, is that we're all going about things a different way. But it also means not relying on other people. As good as having relationships are and friendships are and how important it is, a lot of it circles back to, I think, quote unquote, loneliness, right? being alone isn't loneliness. It's only loneliness because that's how you perceive it. And what you think of the world is what you think of everything. So if you choose to see being alone as loneliness, well, maybe the issue is with your perspective. One thing that I figured out is that being alone is not loneliness, no. It finally gave me the freedom to take care of myself. More importantly, it taught me how to look after myself, and it taught me a lot about myself and who I am. And in this last year, I think, year, I've really learned about myself, and every day I'm learning about myself, and there's so much beauty in that no matter what, every day I get to spend with myself is a beautiful day to learn and to grow. And I know that no matter what, I come into this world alone. You know, I spend all this time alone in my head, and eventually I'll leave this world alone. So look after yourself. Take that time to take yourself out. Go to the coffee shop and read your book alone. Go to the library and read your book alone. Study, learn about something new. Start that business. Go work out. Go for a run. Go hit some weights, Prove to yourself that you're there for yourself. Don't prove it to anyone but yourself, A lot of the times we get so caught up in saying, oh, like, I'm going to be here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Okay, you can say it to people as much as you want, but unless you don't do that work, you are only discrediting everything about yourself, and you are letting yourself down. So I think we need to be deliberate in our actions and intentional with our actions, that everything we do must be for a greater purpose, and that purpose is ourselves, and that purpose is deeply enrooted with who you are and that conversation you have with yourself. So that's my main message here is, talk to yourself, learn about yourself, and be okay with being alone, because it's not loneliness, it's freedom. It's not loneliness, it's freedom. Because you have the freedom to be who you are without being judged by anyone. You have the freedom to go try all these new things, learn new things, be alone with yourself, talk with yourself. All because you can be alone. All because you have the courage to spend some time working on yourself. It is never selfish to look after yourself. It is never selfish to put yourself first. So I think the discipline of doing that and showing up for yourself consistently on a daily basis, no matter what it is, no matter what issues you have, it's okay to be down. But if I come back and you're still down, we got an issue. The only one who can change your life is you. You are the only one who bears any impact on who you are going to become. So do things for yourself, Don't start tomorrow, start now. There is no better time to start than now. Do it for you. Love yourself. Be there for yourself. Widen your perspective. And that's all we can do at the end of the day, so keep going.